We're on. Good evening and welcome to the public hearing for the Falcone Properties application to modify the signs at 502-504 Granite Avenue. Before we begin, I'd ask everyone to join us as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As this is a public hearing, I will just lay out just some of the brief procedures that we're going to go through. Notice has been given, as I understand it, in public notice in conformance with statutory requirements. We've had printed material, information available. And at this hearing, all persons present will be given an equal opportunity to be heard in accordance with our policy, or with our practice, rather. I am the Vice Chair, Mike Zulis. I'm sitting in, for the chair this evening, and I'll be presiding. The way we're going to proceed here is the applicant and its representatives will make their presentation to the extent that they want to. The select board members will have the opportunity to respond, and then any other persons in attendance will have the opportunity to speak as well. Anyone who wants to comment, please ask to be recognized by the chair, and please address your remarks to the chair. And keep your remarks germane to the topic. So, with that, we are here for the application to modify the signs at 502-504 Granite Avenue, and I guess I will ask the applicant and its representatives to make a presentation to the extent that they would like to.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Ned Corcoran on behalf of the Falcone Companies and Allison Barnes of Rebuild Fitness. Bob Falcone Companies are the owner of the property, and Rebuild Fitness is the new tenant. And we're seeking to repurpose a sign that exists. It has existed on the roof of that building since it was first approved by prior iteration of this board in 2008. The property has been through 2 owners and 4 different tenants, or 3 tenants, although one of the tenant entities changed its name. So I was last before this board in March of 2017 seeking approval of a change of name from Sleepy's to Mattress Firm, because Mattress Firm had acquired Sleepy's nationally. It was not a change in tenant, it was just a new change in the name. Mattress Firm has since gone bankrupt nationally, and this is one of the locations where they have pulled out of leases. So the property's been vacant for a while. Bob has secured new tenant, Rebuild Fitness. Rebuild Fitness is a South Shore-based fitness facility that focuses on anti-aging with exercise classes, nutrition advice, things like that. It is regional. It draws from the South Shore. It needs visibility from the expressway in order to be able to attract members to the facility. The sign would look as the second to last page of the material that I provided. It looks simply like this. It's an existing physical LED sign that has been on the building, as I said, since 2008. Simply, right now, the sign has been turned off because the tenant has not started operating. We don't have the approval to change the lettering, and it would simply change to Rebuilt Fitness, combination of white and blue lettering on a black background. The sign would be static, would be changed, no variable, with the exception that the town, in accordance with the previous permit that was granted in March of 2017, does have the authority to call and override the messaging for purposes of Amber Alert or other emergency related things. Probably a rare occurrence, but simply something that's not insignificant, assuming that the right circumstance were in place. So as I said, Kennedy Carpet first permitted in May of 2008. They purchased the property, demolished the buildings that were there, replaced it with a new building, and operated their carpet cleaning business from there. They sold, re-tenanted to Sleepy's in February in 2013, 2014. This board granted an amendment to a permit to allow the change in the messaging from Kennedy Carpet to Sleepy's. That was then changed. The Falcones purchased the property in late 2016, and Mattress Firm acquired Sleepy's at roughly the same time. We came before this board in March of 2017. The board granted approval of the change in name as well. It is a property that is unique to the town of Milton. The property sits absolutely on the corner of Milton and Quincy. It is located as you come off the off-ramp from I-93 north onto Granite Avenue. It's the first building that you enter, you see as you enter Milton. Across the street, next door, not across the street, on the Quincy side, is a building that's being re-tenanted for the purposes of an auto body repair business. You enter off of the expressway, the building is there, and then you drive along Granite Avenue and you have a series of other properties. It is not within, I think one of the findings the board made previously, it's not within the so-called walkable business district. It's not easy to get to. It's very difficult to get to this building. In fact, you can't get to it from Milton because Granite Avenue is one-way going northbound. It is less likely to attract users, members coming from Milton, and it might be coming from places further south. Because, if I'm in Duxbury, Braintree, Weymouth, looking for this type of a fitness facility on my way to Boston, early morning, right off the highway, take my exercise class, get my nutrition assistance, right back onto the expressway, because it's the off and the on is right there. It is a location that is more related to serving regional traffic than it would be Milton traffic. The sign itself is completely invisible from anyone who's not coming in off the expressway. Cannot even see it from the property next door because it sits back up on the roof, and the building is tall enough that it's difficult to see, although I'm not sure if you're in having your car reconditioned, you're going to care about the aesthetics of what might be on the roof in any event. But we think it's, as I said, it is simply a request to change the lettering on a sign that has been previously existed. The conditions for which the need for the sign have not changed. They're consistent with prior conditions that were approved by this board. And I would just simply ask the board to vote in a manner that's consistent with 3 prior votes taken by this board, earlier iterations of this board, to approve the lettering on this sign. The original application, I would just say, really went to 2 signs. Previously, the town amended the sign bylaw within the last couple of years to grant to the sign review committee authority to approve. Didn't have that authority to approve signs before. That was exclusively within the jurisdiction of the select board. The board certainly, the committee was certainly available to provide advice and guidance relative to signs, how they look, what the appearance would be. But because they now have the ability to approve, they did approve this sign, which is illuminated by 3 goosenecks over the top that will be visible if you're driving south on the expressway and look across at the side of the building, but otherwise not visible from the town of Milton either. But this has been approved, so the application really before you is solely for to re-light, if you will, the LED sign that is currently on the roof. With that, I would open it to questions for the board, and happy to respond as best we can.
All right, members of the board, comments, questions?
The sign committee took a vote.
They took a vote, they voted 4-2 to oppose. They have consistently opposed. They opposed all 3 prior applications for the LED sign. Most recently in 2017, they opposed it. This board has been consistent in supporting its prior votes relative to the consistency associated with this location, the uniqueness of the location. I think that's important, and I think what the board, what the sign review committee did was vote on a more. They didn't take into account anything that's specific to the location. They just said, we don't like these types of signs, so therefore we're going to oppose it. And we know that you have the right to appeal to the board, to the select board. We'll let them, you get paid the big bucks. You can make the decisions.
They literally closed
Big
with that.
bucks.
You'll get it approved, we won't be the ones to do it. I was like, so you're gonna make us do this again?
They just, it's a position they take. I disagree with their position wholeheartedly. I think it ignores the needs of businesses in this community, but it is what it is.
Do you mind if I grab the floor for 1 second?
Please.
I'm
Just
Ally-
give your name, just.
Yeah, I'm Ally Barnes, I'm the new tenant at 502 Granite. My background is medicine. I've worked in 4 states of hospitals for the last almost 20 years, and went back for a master's in alternative medicine and nutrition, and then a PhD in the same as well. So my passion, obviously, is this business. I've come up with kind of a new philosophy on working out, fitness, and kind of longevity. I think what we do in the country currently is very aging over the long term. So after a certain age, I decided to kind of shift my mindset, as we all do, I think, at a certain age. But that being said, this is the first of a franchisable business that will be opening across the country. It's a very forward, progressive, health-related business. So I realize the LED sign isn't loved by all, but it is a very attractive and, I guess, cool thing to have in the town as the first thing. I don't know if most people even think this is Milton. There's no sign that says entering Milton right there, so it doesn't say, hey, here's Milton, here's an LED sign. Also, I grew up on the South Shore, so I've been in this area my whole life. My whole health practice is the South Shore, so we do aim on getting a lot of the South Shore off that on-ramp, driving on 30 feet of Milton Road back on to go to work in the morning in Boston. So not a ton of extra traffic. I mean, for the taxes we pay, not a lot of road usage, which is nice. And the sign alone was part of why I leased the building. So eyes wide open. I know that we can be denied. Hoping we wouldn't, because it's been on in the past for other businesses. The sign before was red. There's a lot of data showing how red is a lot more obtrusive than what we're turning it to as a blue and a white. But there's also a lot of white page data, which means trials and scientific data of increasing 150% of your customer base by having an LED sign versus not. So I will beg you for the LED sign, because marketing budget, we don't have a budget to equal what an LED sign would have done for us. And honestly, by increasing the visibility and the customer base for the gym, we're only doing a good thing. It's preventative medicine, it's living longer. We spend currently 1% of all of our healthcare dollar on preventative medicine. That means we spend 99 when we get sick. Really, really awful kind of model we have in the U.S. We're the best healthcare with the sickest nation of all, of all the country. I mean, of all the world. So, that being said, again, it is a passion for mine. It is something that I truly believe will help us survive. The lease is not cheap, but the building is not small either. So I do hope that you see it in your hearts to continue the use of the LED sign.
Are you open yet?
We are not.
When are you scheduled to open?
So at the end of June, beginning of July.
Excellent. How many members do you have so far?
So we just started our pre-sale last week, so we have 15 members.
There you go.
Mostly I know them all, but still.
Hey. All right, congrats.
Somebody said that he saw that we had pre-sale members and didn't sign up. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's fine.
All right, comments, questions, members of the board?
Any questions?
So in terms of our process, we should get a sense of the board, because if the board is inclined not to approve, we should probably continue the hearing, because we need to lay out what our specific reasons not to approve would be. If the board is inclined to approve, then we can go forward with the motion to approve with the conditions that Mr. Corcoran has laid out. So I think it'd be helpful if we get a sense of the board in terms of if we're inclined to move forward with this or not.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought you meant just questions. If we had any questions, and I thought you were going to close the evidentiary portion.
Either way, if you have questions or comments, yeah.
I'm happy to offer comments.
Any other questions? Mr. Clark, do you want to be recognized, or?
Please.
Yeah, please.
Thanks. First off, we are doing this under the new bylaw, the new zoning bylaw. This will be the first time there's been appealed. This is the second time that the sign review committee has met, the second sign process that they have met. They're meeting right now for the third one. The sign review committee has met on this before. I did give you their comments that came in. The committee comments were focused on the history of the sign, and the previous times the sign has been reviewed and not recommended in the past. That was the sign review committee's point, that if they didn't approve it the first time, they felt that they would be, they didn't see a reason for it to come the second time. Another reason for this sign would be the location of where it is and the business that's coming next door. The business next door that was previously an office is now going to be a used car dealership. They're going to take the back of the building, take it off, and put in bay doors, so there'll be a lot more traffic in that particular area. That also was part of the reason for the sign to say fitness. When you look at the roof, it says rebuilt.
You don't want to get confused with the car business. I get it, totally.
When the sign first came in, it said rebuilt, and it came in with 3 small words on the bottom, and I'm like, you can't do that. First off, I'm not going to see the bottom words, and second of all, with what's coming next door, you're going to have people in your driveway, not their driveway, which is why it says rebuilt fitness. The rebuilt fitness actually is what they will see as they come down Willard Street, which is the Quincy part of the business. So
In large parking lot lanes too, for the high poles.
if you've got questions.
One other thing they consider, I'm Bob Falcone, is it's gonna be a used car and repair shop. And if you go by Route 1 or anywhere down in Hanover, you'll notice that 24, 30-foot light poles, and they've gone through a site plan approval already, and that's gonna be a very, very high lit area.
They actually just met the Quincy Town meeting this
Yeah.
week
Yeah.
to approve that for them.
May I ask, are there any other questions? May I ask, if, currently the sign in place is an LED base, do you have any sense, and you may not have at this point, but do you have any sense of what it would cost to change it from LED to non-LED, to just a basic sign with the lamps to illuminate it?
I actually could give you a decent cost on that analysis. So our front sign, which is an eighth of the size, without the structure holding it up, it's just going to be glued or screwed to the building, is about $8,000. So if we're doing 8 times 8.
And those lights are
I would never
there.
afford that. Yeah.
And those lights are
correct.
existing, so
They'd have to
we'd
put
have to change that.
electric
so.
there for lighting.
So, and if you did the existing LED, it would cost you something less than that?
0.
Zero, well, you'd have to
Cost
get
us
the...
zero, because we change it with a computer.
Oh, I see, so this, I see.
We'll
So you're not
change, this
gonna
is a
build-
computer
I
control,
see,
we can
I
change
see.
that within a minute.
I see.
1 minute in our office,
I see.
24 hours a day.
I see.
It's just,
That's why we could tap into it.
yes,
I
if
see.
we get a
Tamper
notice,
alert.
it can be
Yeah.
changed instantly.
I understand.
Do you happen to know, Mike, if we have ever used it for that purpose?
I don't believe we have.
No,
Yeah.
we've not, we've never been asked.
That actually was built in, that was actually built into the permit, that it could be at the request of the chief of police or town administrator. It has never been used for that purpose.
It would certainly be
The
a rare
idea-
occurrence.
The idea was, could they use it during an Amber Alert? And the answer was yes. It just never came to fruition that they would do that.
All right. Anything further? Katie, I'd rather not close the evidentiary portion because because depending on the comments, we may want to keep that open for next time. So if we could get a sense maybe of the board as to which direction we want to go, so we know whether we're going to finish it up here tonight or come back in a week.
So can I speak?
Sure.
So I'm going to vote to support this application. I voted for the prior two. I think this is a very unique situation. It's a unique location. I think the building owner in the past, Bob Falcone and his predecessor, Jay Kennedy, have demonstrated that there's a reasonable need for this sign for the types of businesses that have been there. Interestingly, the first time I encountered this was when Sleepy's took over from Kennedy Carpet, and the prior Kennedy Carpet sign rotated the light. There were different colors, they flashed. There was a big improvement once it became a static sign with just one message against the black background. And that, there were a lot of people who didn't like the flashing messages on the Kennedy Carpet building. And there was actually a lot of opposition. We got emails, we had people calling, we had people at the meeting opposing it. We don't have any of that tonight. I haven't gotten any calls or emails from anyone about this sign. And I think there is a reasonable need for it. So, this is different. What Ned said is a point that's come up before. It's not part of the walkable business district. You're really only going to see it coming up on 93 from the south, and I think it has helped the businesses. There's been a chain of them, unfortunately, in the last few years that there has been turnover, but some of that is unique to the type of business that it was, and really was a national issue with the bankruptcy of a major retailer. So hopefully the sign will help this business, and it'll be there for a long time to come. And I do like the fact that we have the opportunity, if the town administrator or the chief of police see the need for an Amber Alert, even if that's, saves one life at some point, that's a positive here. So I'm going to vote to support the sign, and I think it's good for this location and good for the business.
Anyone else?
Well, I also would like to support it. It is, again, as Mr. Corcoran said, a unique location, and we see what's going in next to it, and I think it's going to need a little extra support, maybe. Also, just looking at the SBA, the Small Business Administration, and what they suggest small business owners do, especially with tight marketing budgets, is an LED sign, because it really does help provide that extra boost in marketing. So I feel like I have to support it.
Thank you.
Could I add, Mike, to your point, your question about the cost of the sign? I remember that when Jay Kennedy was in previously, it had been very expensive to put up. For some reason, I've got the number of 50,000 in my head that this sign costs to purchase and install. That it's been a few years, but so I think that was one of the big issues here, was that
The software.
the approval that was, and there was community support when the previous board approved it, and a significant investment was made in the sign. So at one point, people wanted us to order it taken down, which would have presented a hardship, I think, for the businesses there, the prior business.
Tony?
I have no reason to oppose it, so I'm in favor of it.
Okay, I will say, my inclination is not to support it because I've never liked that sign, and I always thought it was out of place in this town. However, I am sympathetic with the business need. In fact, my wife has a business in Chestnut Hill, and we have a sign on the top, and we have spotlights because we couldn't do LED, but that's fine. That's right on Route 9. So I'm sympathetic with the need, and I am persuaded by my colleagues that this is a inobtrusive use, and it would benefit the business and benefit the community. And so, whereas I was inclined not to support it when I walked in, I'm inclined now to support it. So.
Is it Ms. Barnes?
Yeah.
What will be the hours of the
So 5:30 a.m. would be our earliest class.
Okay.
And as of now, 6:30 p.m. would be our last class, so 7:30 would be a closing time.
All right, so we have an.
We shut the sign off. It goes off at midnight, I think.
11.
Yeah.
11 to 5, it's out of operation.
So.
I guess that's a good point then. If your business hours are until, did you say 6:30?
So last class at 6:30, so 7:30 would be.
So-
and then we'll have nutrition classes sometimes at the 7:30 marker.
I mean, so would, say, an earlier time, say 9 o'clock be, you know, how would that impact your business to turn it off at 9 o'clock rather than 11 o'clock?
So if we're for full approval, I would totally take the 11, but if we need to give, let me know. You know, it would just be, if you look at traffic patterns, which I can give you detailed analysis of, if I researched that, I could tell you the amount of cars that it would miss between that hour. Generally, that 9 to 11 hour could be airport runs, stuff like that, versus just people stagnantly or reoccurringly going to work at that hour. But they would be able to actually come, if they did see it, come early to our last class before going to work if they are driving into Logan or any of the businesses that operate at night.
So you're viewing it from the advertising perspective, that having it until 11 o'clock helps
It would be
with
really
advertising, not with wayfaring or people finding the location at that hour.
They're likely not to pull in the first time they see the sign, because they'll already be going too fast, but then, once they understand it's there, then it's a directional marker.
All right, we have the room for 2 more minutes, and we have an extensive motion.
Can we ask the town planner to clarify, do we need number 3 for this motion then?
Bill?
Bill, for number, John Flynn, town council, drafted a motion for us, but number 3 sounds like it's not necessary if the sign review committee already approved the side on the side facing the highway. So we don't need number, we don't need number 3. So we can strike that. All right, so I'll move that the select board finds that the owner has a reasonable need to modify and retain the LED sign on the south facade of the building that faces northbound traffic on I-93, and to remove and replace the sign that faces southbound traffic on I-93 in order to attract the attention of customers and direct them to the store's location. Number 2, that the LED sign shall have only one message that reads "Rebuilt Fitness" with the logo with the numeral 3 in place of the E in rebuilt, in blue and white. This will be a change in lettering only. The LED sign itself will not need to be removed or replaced. Neither the owner nor the tenant may advertise a different message on the LED sign, nor may they change the colors of the LED sign or rotate any other message at any interval, except that the owner and/or the tenant shall permit the town of Milton to display an emergency message on the LED sign if requested by the town administrator or the chief of police. As required by the Select Board's February 11th, 2014 vote, the LED sign shall be dimmed at night, but the hours for the LED sign to be dimmed shall remain unchanged from 11 o'clock p.m. to 5 o'clock a.m. each day. Except as modified herein, the approval of the Select Board voted on May 22nd, 2008, as modified by the approval of the Select Board voted on November 3rd, 2011, February 11th, 2014, and March 7th, 2017, shall remain in full force and effect. Any change in sign lettering or in the message advertised by a sign shall require prior approval of the Select Board. As a condition of this approval, no window signs are permitted on the property, and the applicant must remove all signage displayed in the windows of the building.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Well, only that I think maybe John wrote in Board of Selectmen on the prior approvals because that's what the title was, but that doesn't matter, right? That it was read differently?
I don't think so.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Just
But-
making sure.
But I think you're absolutely right. That's why.
I thought that's why maybe he did it. I just didn't. But as long as it doesn't matter, that doesn't matter to
I don't
me.
think it's substance.
Okay,
It's
good.
matter. It's
Okay.
ministerial. All right. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good luck with your business.
Public hearing is closed. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion's been made. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Actually, do we have to recess?
We're going to go down to the blue room.
And reconvene?
Yeah, we're going to reconvene in the blue.